Hi, my name's Danica Todd, and this video is meant to be a supportive video to go along with the block and strap homework. So if you have not looked at that video yet, I highly recommend you start there. That video shows me lying flat on my back so that you can see how when stabilizing the pelvis, you don't want movement in the spine when you're doing the squeezing. However, if you're pregnant, you're going to do it seated on your kitchen chair because you can't lay flat for the majority of your pregnancy. If I were to do that video seated in a chair, then it would just look like I wasn't doing anything, and so there wouldn't be much of a visual aid, which is why I chose to do it lying on my back. But this is part of a stability series, and because the majority of my clients are pregnant, I'm going to approach it from a pregnancy lens, but this would work for anybody who is having an instability issue in their body. And so the block and strap homework is meant to stabilize the hips and the pelvis. And then this video is going to show you how to do it within movement while you're exercising. So I've got my my model here, and I just want to give you some landmarks so you know what we're talking about. So this is your pubic symphysis, and so sometimes in pregnancy people will find out that they have a disorder going on here, which is the hypermobility of that relaxin hormone. And then when you're walking, it can do weird twisty things. There can be pain. It can get dislocated. If you see a chiropractor, they'll use the term subluxated. And so maybe like one side's a little bit higher than the other, one side's more forward than the other. Just this tissue right here in the middle that supports it becomes unstable from the relaxin hormone. So I want to start by saying I am not a huge fan of doing unilateral movement while pregnant. I'm not saying it's an absolute. I just know that it often ends up causing issues here, and then it causes issues in the SI joint in the back because you're so hypermobile, and then these end up getting irritated because they don't have the stabilizing anatomy there to help you do those things like lunges. Some of the old school recommendations for pregnant people would be things like going up and down stairs or curb walking. And there might be a time and place during labor specifically to do those things, but to do them as part of your daily wellness routine, I would not recommend. You're going to end up then spending a lot of time with me or a pelvic PT or a chiropractor working through the imbalances that happen from that instability. So one of the common things that people come in with is pain in that front, in that pubic symphysis. And if you watch the block and strap homework, you'll know that using a block or a ball and squeezing it stabilizes that pubic symphysis. And so what that looks like if you're somebody doing a workout routine is that you might be able to do that routine longer if you add some tools into your workout. So what I want you to consider, and I'm going to use squats as my example, what I want you to consider is adding a ball. This is a kid's toy ball. It's called a Gertie ball. It was the only option we had at the time. She's old and loved, and it's got weird marks all over her. But now you can go for about $10. You can go on Amazon, put in 9-inch Pilates ball or 9-inch exercise ball. These have the same little pin in them that the big exercise balls that you could sit on have, which is great because you can adjust how much air you have in here. And I really have switched from the block in my practice, both my personal practice and my practice in my office, to the ball, because you can make it a little softer, which means you can go through movement easier without worrying of dropping the yoga block. Another prop that I have found that I've switched to more than the yoga strap is the booty band. But you have to promise me you're not going to go into the glutes. People who already own these kind of bands are using them to do things like butterfly exercises with their legs, and they're using the resistance of the band to strength train. And what we're using them for in my office is to activate and engage, but we're not looking for like extra beyond that. I don't want you to use your booty band and then be like, while I'm already here in my squat, I'm gonna, throw in a little extra glute work. We're not trying to do that. We're just using it to give you something to feel that you're pressing up against to activate when you're doing the squat. So I'm gonna change this angle so you can see my knees better. And let's start with the ball. So when I am working out in the gym, I might need to, let me see. Let me lower the table. When I work out in the gym, I do 3 sets. Even not pregnant, I do 3 sets. And definitely if I'm learning something new or I am recovering from an injury, I will use my props. And so what you can do with the ball is you put it between your knees. And when you do your squat, I'm gonna do wall squats. So it's in between your knees. I'm stabilizing, which is gonna stabilize my pubic symphysis. Squeezing it also reminds me, so if I don't have the ball and I go into squat, often I end up doing weird things with my ab. As soon as I do this, it reminds me, you can see my belly button. It literally, it engages my transverse abdominis and has me lift everything here. So when I go through the squats, I'm keeping my form. Versus if I don't have it, my knees often do weird things. They might rotate in or out. If I were to watch them, sometimes they look like they're doing squiggly lines. So this helps me to stay nice and keep my form through the whole movement. I would say I even use these for upper body. I could be on the lat machine and I'm gonna have the ball behind me. It's gonna remind me to engage everything here. Even though my arms are above my head doing the movement, the ball is making sure everything from my rib cage to my knees is stabilizing and activating the way it should be. When you're doing upper body, it doesn't mean you're not using your core anymore. You still need that stable foundation when you're doing it. And I find that I can lift heavier weights with my upper body when I'm using these tools because there's a lifting action that happens when I do it instead of the whole bottom half being dead weight. And so then I can actually get a better workout. I also bought these off of Amazon. This is a latex-free brand. So you can use whatever brand you want, but if you are allergic to latex like I am, this is a great brand called Tribe. And so it's the same thing. We're not trying to go into a squat and then be like, let's do butterflies. We're just using the band to activate, to feel that little bit of a resistance. And when we press out, you're gonna feel this wrap around your hip that's gonna lock in at that sacrum. So people feeling that instability or their pain in that SI joint. So if you're like, I need a massage, it's all in my low back, and you're working out, add this loop. So now you do a set with the loop. So now you're doing your squats and you're activating and you're protecting that SI joint so that as you're squatting, one leg isn't holding more weight, there's no like torsion or twisting or something funky happening in your SI joint. So after I've completed my set with the ball and my set with the strap, then I go in and I do one last one without it. Now that I've okay, I've activated, I've remembered how to use my body, then I can go through the movement and I've got good posture and good form and I'm not doing weird things with my body in the process. So I highly recommend that you get these tools. They will also come in handy postpartum. You can use them super gently, even in the first 8 weeks, doing that block and strap homework on your back that can help you start to reactivate and re-engage those muscles of your pelvis and your abdomen while you're not actively doing actual exercise until you've been released from your provider. But you can do that block and strap homework video because it's not exercise. You're laying on your back, your knees are bent, and you're just using the block and the strap and working at getting that movement and that activity in there again after you've given birth. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment or reach out to me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.